Level 19 of My Little Underground. I'm Peter A. Subscribe anywhere you get podcasts, including Spotify. And of course, we're on Google Podcasts, we're on Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else that you get podcasts. And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Peter A Radio, and follow the show as well at MLU Pod on Twitter and Instagram. 2 guests on the show today. We got all the way from Atlanta, we got Starbenders and Long Island filmmaker Tommy Cavanagh and the great Long Island artist known as Astronauto. And I have a history with Starbenders dating back to 2015. I saw them play a show at the now defunct Brooklyn venue known as the Rock Shop in August of that year. And to see how far they've come from that particular time period that I saw them is astronomical. They've really grown as artists. And their music has always been great, but it's so much better now, I guess. Not that their music back then was not good. It was great, but now they're just better. And I think when you see or hear music from an artist from a particular time period, and some time goes along, a year, 2, 3 years, and you hear the creative output, and to see the improvement of that output, to me, is just amazing. I love growth and maturity in artistry and music is what I look for. I definitely look for that. People always say, oh, the old stuff of particular artists is always better. Not always true. To me, I love growth. I love seeing how far an artist has come since they started. And if an artist sounds the same 10 years after they started, there's a problem there. You know what I'm saying? Their latest single, 21st Century Orphan, is out right now. Definitely go stream that. It's superb. And I caught up with Starbenders at the Knitting Factory out in Brooklyn. Beautiful venue. And they were kind enough to invite me to their dressing room to have a little chat right after their amazing, charismatic set. And I give them all the credit in the world and respect, because usually if a band just got off the stage, they kind of want to relax and be away from people for a while. But, I've never met artists like that, but I usually like to give artists their space, if I'm going to try to interview them after a set, because they're usually sweaty and they kind of are a little disoriented. But Starbenders, they were more than welcome and more than open to talk with me right after the set. The lead singer, Kimmy, just saw me and said, hey, just come back, come on. I'm like, okay, great, we're doing this right now, awesome. And Starbenders kicks off this week's My Little Underground. It's an evolution of your stuff now.
Jello Biafra said, if evolution is outlawed, then only the outlaws will evolve.
Great. Get this rocking. Cool.
You're so wise.
Jello Biafra.
Like a miniature Buddha covered in hair.
Like a miniature Jello Biafra.
Starbenders, thank you so much for talking with me today.
Peter
The Knitting
A.
Factory. You guys killed it tonight. It was an amazing show. I think your performance gets better every time I see you. Your charisma is through the roof, and I thank you guys for taking the time to talking with me tonight.
Yeah.
You guys came off a tour recently at LA, and you did a benefit for the Children of the Night nonprofit, right? Mm-hmm. So tell me about that. What's that all about?
Children of the Night, that was a couple tours ago, actually.
Yeah.
So this was, back in July?
Yeah, it's like we've been nonstop since summer.
Yeah, since then we've been gone more than we've been home.
Yeah.
It was a really great tour. It was a good way for us to raise a little bit of awareness for an issue that we think is important.
Yeah.
Children of the Night is a nonprofit that helps kids who have been put into the sex trade or human trafficking. That helps them kind of rehabilitate and adjust back to normal life. So they provide housing, education, things like that. And this was a way for us to raise a bit of awareness for that issue.
So last year, I haven't seen you guys in a while, so I'm going to go back a little bit. The Friday Night Classic show you did with Lost and Found Youth.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What's that about?
Lost and Found is another organization. They're based out of Atlanta that kind of does the same thing as Children of the Night, except it's for LGBTQ youth. Mm-hmm. And they just help kids get off the streets and give them a safe place, give them career resources. And they also have a thrift store that's in Atlanta, so they let the kids go in there and get clothes, and they deliver care packages and things like that. And they also give them a place to go after school and things like that, kids that are still in school, so they can have a place to use the internet and do their homework and things like that.
Why are these organizations important to you?
I think that there's no bigger crime than taking the innocence away from youth. And I think that a lot of times people focus on things that are going on in other countries, but there's a lot of problems here. And I think there's a lot of kids that get overlooked because they're either different or they don't come from money, or people, it's just kind of like an uncomfortable topic, so it gets brushed under the rug. So we've made a vow to the universe that it doesn't really matter what place we're at in our career, because you can always start philanthropy like wherever you're at in your career. You don't have to be making millions of dollars a year to, do charities and try to get money and awareness for different causes. And homelessness, and especially with the youth, and just kind of dislocated kids and things like that, like we definitely care about that a lot. So
you guys have definitely grown your platform since when I first met you guys. I think it's important that you guys are using your platform to kind of combat the evils in the world, and I really appreciate that. The Japan tour, how was that?
It was amazing. It was, the language barrier was intense, but luckily we had translators and shit. But like one show, all we could do was be like, make us sound like Led Zeppelin, and that's all they understood.
Yeah.
It was just Led Zeppelin.
Okay.
They're like, okay, they want rock and roll tones. Like,
You're like Led Zeppelin. They're like, okay, Led Zeppelin.
Led Zeppelin.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So traveling internationally for you guys, how did you make that work? Like getting your gear out there and just the overall travel. I know it's probably not easy to kind of move around as a, you know what I mean? Maybe I'm not understanding.
No, yeah, you don't want to ship a whole drum kit across the world, So
Yeah.
luckily we have...
Because I hate the airport in general, just traveling by myself or with my family, so I can imagine as a group.
Yeah, we thankfully have endorsements with great companies, and our Japanese label is also really great. They think about everything. So, as far as an international tour went, like that was very painless, and we were just thrilled.
We were very well taken care of.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It was awesome.
Yeah, we completely fell in love with Japan. So
Culturally, what'd you guys learn from Japan?
Well, we found like people there like take everything very seriously, about everything. So just the amount of respect that people have in general, like especially like in like club setting for like a rock show, which is really weird because you don't really always experience a lot of respect in these kind of situations. So we had like, before every show we had these things called briefings where we would get in like a circle with all the other bands and like introduce ourselves, and it was very professional, very organized. Everybody took everything super seriously.
So much respect.
Yeah.
So much respect.
And everybody was really like into just music. Like there was just a very pure passion for music in general. Which,
CDs are still huge there.
Yeah, CDs, like the physical aspect of music is still very alive there. So they have like...
Is it Tower Records?
Tower Records,
Yeah, and it was super surreal to see our record in Tower.
Yeah, there was a couple of locations we visited, and it's just amazing. Like the main one in Shinjuku, I think, is like 10 stories high. Every floor is like a different genre of music, all CDs, all vinyl.
Yeah, you'd love it.
It was great.
Yeah, I would. I've been hearing a lot of great things about Japan outside of the music world, so I have to
go.
Yes. I have to get my passport first, but I gotta get out there.
Do that.
Yeah, I barely leave New York, so Japan is on my list.
I had never left the country, and then I went to Japan.
There you go. Yeah.
I never had need to get a passport until the band really started, but yeah, it was my first stamp was Japan. So
music is like a passport.
Yeah,
you know what
exactly.
I mean? Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Love that.
Yeah.
You said that we said that in the interview?
Yeah, don't worry about that. And then I'll sue you later.
Okay,
Just wait till we have money.
Someone didn't pay the bill or something. Yeah. I went to Puerto Rico years ago, but that's still kind of America.
That's still U.S. territory, I guess.
Yeah. The culture's totally different, but it's still kind of
Yes.
America.
Yes.
So BIJ Records, you guys get a distro deal out there.
Mm-hmm.
Is this big in the next step of the evolution of Starbenders?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, we are ready to take over Japan. So we're super excited. We're going back in April.
March, April, yeah.
Yeah, something like
Whenever
that.
the
for
cherry blossom.
cherry blossom season.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're going to be out there for a whole month. So, which is great because then the jet lag will be a little easier to get over.
We were there for a short time.
Yeah, we were only there for 1 week.
Time to get used to seeing everything.
Yeah.
Soaking it in as much.
Is this a headlining tour or?
Yeah, and the past one was too. It's really surreal.
Yeah. See, I love that you guys have come so far. I think it's so great. I love seeing that, like being a part of a band's trajectory. It's just makes me feel so great. You know,
Yeah.
I love it.
You got good taste.
Some could say that. Your tour with Alice in Chains. How was that?
Mind blowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very surreal.
Yep.
It's kind of rare to get to share the stage with a band that's seen as a classic rock band now, if you will. Like, they're definitely in that category now of being a classic rock band. We'll be out in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Make sure you put that in there. Someone was coming in here.
Yeah.
What do I owe you money?
Yeah.
Anyways, no, I mean, it was very surreal. All of us grew up listening to Alice.
Same.
And getting to kind of see how those guys work and being around it firsthand and all that was a great learning experience for us and just a great experience in general. And it really skyrocketed us onto another level. And we definitely got off the road a completely different band, not in a bad way, but in the best way. So.
Did you learn anything? Did you get to like interact with Jerry or anything like
yeah.
that? Yeah.
Yeah.
What'd you guys learn from him?
That he's fucking rock solid.
He's all about holding it down.
Yeah, his guitar rig was usually pretty close to the side of the building where our green rooms would be, and so it was always just dead the fuck on. Like that dude is always dead on, And William Duvall, the new singer, he's very gracious.
He's awesome.
He's incredible, and he's like inspired a lot of young kids and things like that. And just the whole team was great. Sean Kinney's great, super funny dude.
So solid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very solid.
He's got that whip. man.
Wow.
He's
Yeah,
got
yeah,
that whip.
yeah.
I think a lot of their albums kind of. There's a lot of albums from the 90s that are like, okay, that's for that time. But then when I hear Dirt, it's like, this is timeless. Or Sap, I think those are my favorites.
Yeah, they were spot on every fucking night.
Yeah.
Every night the harmonies like perfect and everything.
A 21st Century Orphan.
Yes.
I'm kind of confused about the concept. Maybe you can tell me. Are you talking about how the youth are kind of orphanized with their parents being kind of emotionally unavailable? Is that it, or
Yeah,
what?
that's definitely part of it. And I think also social media has removed a lot of people's interpersonal connections and changed them. And a lot of kids are experiencing like all-time highs of parents dealing with narcissism and things like that, where they just completely check out or they're too hands off or whatever. I think kids still need someone there, and it's like I said with our philanthropy, how we are trying to help homeless youth and things like that. There's like so many kids that are just getting forgotten, and I think that's mostly what the song's about, is these kids that are kind of raising themselves, and like the internet's kind of raising people now.
Yeah.
Like if there's a big word that you don't understand, if a 5-year-old doesn't know what architect means, they don't go to their parents and ask them, they Google it. And so that connection with a parent teaching you something is having a profound effect, So the internet's just teaching everybody everything. If you're a preteen girl and you want to know how to shave your legs, you don't ask your mom to show you. You get on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the long-term effects of it are
of things that the parents don't know. And it's kind of hard both ways too, but I kind of see what you're saying. Because like a kid will ask, like homework for example, because the whole Common Core situation, the parents are confused too. Like, how do they know how to help their kids with this kind of thing that they didn't learn? You know, it's just...
yeah, they don't have to get the courage to even like build that trust in the relationship to go ask them questions anymore. They can just go to the internet.
That's right, yeah.
So, you know...
And then you don't know what's real when you go to the internet too.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And so it's like, I think our society in general is just very confused right now, and no one knows how to be close. And that's why Japan was so cool, because family and all of that is still super important over there, and it's not the way it is over here where it's very hands-off. But yeah, I mean, that song is about many a thing, you know, and I know a lot of people who dealt with checked-out parents even in their adult years, you know, so
right.
It's just covers a lot of topics, and also letting people know that it's okay to protect your innocence and protect your youth, and just kind of hang in there, and you know, they're not alone. If they feel alone or pissed or fucked up, they can come to a Starbenders show.
Yes, that's 100% true. So, you'll definitely feel good about yourself.
Yeah, hit Kimmy's shelter up, and she will put you on the list.
Yes. New album on the way, or what?
Yeah, we'll have some really exciting news to announce soon, and you'll be the first to know.
Yeah, that's the answer I was hoping for.
Yeah.
Starbenders, thank you so much for talking to me tonight. Where can people follow you on Instagram, Twitter, where?
You actually have to avoid us on the internet. We're so easy to find. Yeah, so our Instagram is Starbenders for real, the number 4. Twitter is just Starbenders. Facebook's Starbenders. Spotify is Starbenders. So
great.
Yeah.
Starbenders, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Big thanks to my Atlanta friends, Starbenders, for talking with me on level 19 of My Little Underground. We're not done yet, people. Nope, no sir. Because Tommy Cavanagh, Long Island filmmaker, is on the show today as well. He's doing a documentary on the great Long Island artist, one of the best artists to come out of Nassau County. I'm talking about Astronauto. The documentary is called How Can We Know? It's through his Greener Pictures, and it's going to be up on his Vimeo sooner than later. So follow him on Instagram at Greener Pictures. Now let's talk to Astronauto and Tommy Cavanagh on My Little Underground.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, Tommy, my first question for you is, how do you plan to distribute this film after the Velvet Lounge screening?
So it's going to be available on Vimeo as of right now. And I also plan on submitting it to film festivals as well. So it's going to be hopefully being seen on the festival circuit. That's pretty much the most we can hope right now. I mean, it's a pretty DIY release. It's a documentary about DIY, so I'm trying to make it readily available for everybody. So it's just going to be right up on my Vimeo page.
Accessibility, I like that. I respect it. So this is through your Greener Pictures?
Greener Pictures, yeah.
Yes. So how did this start?
Greener Pictures was something I kind of came up with in college. That's like the label I released my films under. My thesis film was called Greener, and it was named after that. So, like, going forward, I was really proud of that project, and that's kind of the standard I wanted to set for my films going forward, so I named it Greener Pictures after that.
Right. Awesome. So you did a lot of short films and other music videos. Mm-hmm. Now, this Astronauto documentary, is this the first long-form project that you're doing, or this is going to be along the lines of the other kinds of films that you've done, as far as length is concerned?
This is technically a feature-length film. It's clocked in at about 45 minutes, but the rule of thumb is that anything under 40 is a short, and anything above 40 is a feature. So it does just barely break the feature film barrier there. So this is I made a couple of features in the past, not under the Greener Pictures label, and a lot of it was back when I was a little inexperienced. So It's nice to be able to do like a feature where I like have a little bit more experience now, and it really just came together on its own. You know, it was really about, you know, just having the camera on at the right time and getting the right stuff.
You went to school for this?
I did, yeah. I went to SUNY Oswego, upstate. That's like 40 minutes outside of Syracuse. Really loved it there. Made some great friends. A lot of the people who I met there helped us out with camera work for a couple nights here in East Setauket. I had one of the guys that was in my major, Josh Parisi, a great DP. He helped us out as a second camera one night, and then down in where was it? North Carolina.
Yeah, it was
North Carolina. We had Matt Memelo, who did a DP on my thesis. And he helped us out with camera work that night as well. So, you know, it was really nice to be able to, like, see friends along the tour, you know, that I had experience with and that were, like, willing to help contribute. And we also crashed with a couple of people that I knew from college as well.
I think that's great because in college, when you do creative stuff, like making films, with me it was radio, that's where you get to get your feet wet with experimenting with stuff and how you would create content. And there's a lot of people that you might have met that kind of helped you create that.
Absolutely.
For me in college, it was Astronauto. You know, he was my first ever radio interview ever with Medicine Fish.
Wow.
So it's kind of when you do that in college and you help build each other up. You know what I mean?
Yes,
you
absolutely.
talk to that local band over there or your classmate over there that's doing that thing, and you guys build together.
Yes.
And I think that's amazing. And your short film, Doors, has a local theme to it, which is kind of the theme with a lot of your films, which is great. And you filmed it at the Velvet Lounge.
I did.
And I want to know, with Astronauto, this documentary has the same kind of theme to it. Do you want to keep most of your projects local, like as far as Long Island?
Well, I do plan on moving upstate later this year, but I really like the idea of very localized films. Like I feel like stuff like New York City gets like so much screen time, like LA gets so much screen time. I really like to focus on like the smaller and intimate details of things and of people. So I like the idea of small localized stuff. And you know, especially on tour with Astronauto, you got to be as like intimate as possible with the you know, just being in the car and just
Too intimate.
too intimate.
Smell each other's BO and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, you know, 11 days on the road,
That's the least of it.
that'll do it. But yeah, I do like to keep stuff localized to where I am. I feel like as the filmmaker, you have more of a connection to the environment around you. Like, I love the Velvet Lounge. They've done some great shows over the years, and I was very honored to be able to have permission to film there.
So I think it's great because when people see your films, they get an idea of where you come from.
Yes.
And it's good to know where you come from. Like Steve Buscemi did a film in his hometown of Valley Stream back in the 90s. And yeah, and I want to know what made you want to document Astronauto specifically, because I know you've been around a lot of other local bands throughout Long Island.
Personally, I just don't think anybody sounds quite like Astronauto. To quote that article that Caitlin wrote, it sounds like a spaceship landing at Woodstock, and I think that's a really good way to describe it. I saw Astronauto for the first time in early 2016, so I believe it was right after the Green album came out.
Yeah.
I saw him at Portside and Port Jeff, and I was like, wow, this guy's wild. And, you know, at the same time, I was, like, getting into a lot more long-form music, like jam bands and stuff. So a lot of what he was doing really appealed to me, and there were a lot of unique sounds involved. And I just don't think that anybody is quite doing what Astronauto is doing with music right now, and there's nothing quite like being at an Astronauto show. Like, the albums are great, but the live experience is something completely different. And I was formulating for a while. Like, it was kind of like a pipe dream. At first I was like, oh, wouldn't it be wild to do like a live documentary about him, like, you know, the Grateful Dead movie, like stuff like that. And, you know, I was playing with that idea for a couple months, and then I heard he was doing a spring tour this year, and I was like, oh, you know, what the hell, I'll ask him if I could do it. You know, it was a big leap. And, I didn't know John that well at the time, but so it's like, we could hate each other by the end of this, but thankfully we came out smiling.
I think maybe John could speak to this. He's right here. So when he gets a good read on people, like he'll bring you in closer. Oh, yeah. Because right around the time where I interviewed you in Medicine Fish, right after I think it was the second Valley Stream Community Festival, and afterwards, after you performed, you said, "Oh, come to my car. We're gonna hang out. Come on, just follow me." I'm like, "Okay." So I got to know
where's
the
this
man
story gonna go.
So I got to know the man behind the music. I guess with you it's the same thing because you're doing the documentary and you followed him on tour. What was that like? What were some difficulties that you guys have come across?
Well, I had never been on tour before, so a lot of this was just brand new to me, and it was just us, one car, and a ton of instruments and gear just packed as tightly as possible. So I think the real challenge was, other than the nights I had previously mentioned where we had a little help, I was mostly a one-man crew for probably like 9 out of the 11 nights on tour. So that was definitely a challenge, like being able to like be in the moment and just be aware of like, okay, sound's going and cameras rolling and I'm standing at the right place at the right time. So a lot of it was from my end at least, like just being the one guy running everything, sound, video. It was very exhilarating, but it was exhausting as well.
Yeah, it's like going to the gym, right, John?
Yeah, it's very parallel to how it is as Astronauto, where it's the one person, and it's all up to you to make sure that you have everything, And as you well know, I bring about 3 or 4 people's worth of stuff for me. So yep. Tommy was the same exact thing film-wise. He was doing sound guy. He was, camera A, B, C, and F, So yeah, it maybe rubbed off on like the spirit of the film that both of us were these like lone wolf guys doing our visionary project things and coming together for it for either of our projects, So really, really fun, yeah.
And John's got a very small car, so he has all of his stuff, all of his mic stands, his keyboards, his guitars, his pedals. So what's your equipment like, Tom? Like what are you bringing with you?
So I've got like a big duffel bag. I've got my camera. I've got my kind of DIY Steadicam that I built using like a YouTube tutorial out of like pipes and one of those like T-brackets. And like a couple of weights, and then I've got a couple of lights and assorted chargers, batteries, that kind of thing. So I was traveling pretty light camera-wise, and I had my sound recorder as well. So I was traveling pretty light, all things considering, because I wasn't taking like a million lights or like that kind of thing. So thankfully we like. It ended up being like a kind of a Tetris system, like
yes, it works exactly.
It like every time because we had to unload every single night, like we had to make sure we put everything back the exact same way because we knew it would fit. We were like, okay, pedal board goes before this, and then the guitar goes in, and then the keyboard on top of that.
Yeah. So, John, aren't you glad that Astronauto is a one-man project? Because, like, how are you guys fitting everything in your car, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a blessing and a curse, because trying to make that much sound as one person, you need all that stuff.
Yep.
At the same time, though, you have that free space to figure it out and do it, not like your way in a selfish way, the way that, it's a cool, like, test to yourself, and kind of gets the brain juices flowing, and we're doing something creative anyway, so it's good to kind of mentally be on your toes. So that whole taking care of every little thing, you take pride in your work, I guess. So the more stuff you do in it, the more work, the more pride. I guess it's the ball keeps rolling, So
what did you guys learn from each other that you didn't know before?
I learned that we share a lot of the same music taste.
Oh yeah,
like
music's good. That's what we learned.
Yeah, like just listening to stuff like in the car, like, and we shared a lot too. We were like, oh, check out this album after this one's done. Like we kind of traded off with the aux cord. So we got to show each other a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, and I feel like I learned to have just trust in things a little bit more. Thing I get over, as we were saying, with being in a one-man project, whether it's film or music, it's a little cumbersome on the, making sure all the loose ends are tied wise. So it's really fun to, know if you're really putting it out there, other people are going to, maybe it might take a while, you might not always see it, but other people kind of pick up on it after a while, hopefully, and so it was really cool. It was very symbiotic is a good word, where he had the friends that could, help us crash at places, and I was making the music, so there was a reason to book a concert to drive there in the first place, and, filming, it was just really, really cool how it all connected,
So, Tom, you said you've never been on tour before, and now you have a taste of what that's like. What's something about touring that you can tell people, or especially a band or an artist that's getting ready to go on their tour, or their first tour?
I would say just let everything fall where it may, not everything is going to go according to plan. You might accidentally sleep late one day and, it's all right. It's all right to lose an hour as long as you're still, gonna be on time. But, to people who are going on tour for the first time, I would do it again in a heartbeat. It's a very different lifestyle. You get sweaty, you get tired after a while, but it's a good kind of tired. I remember by the end of the tour, I was and it was 11 days. It was pretty long. I was wiped out, but there was still this energy. You got to do it again. Yeah. So I would do it again in a heartbeat. I would just say, be prepared and let things fall where they may is all the advice I have to offer for that.
And I guess, John, as a solo act, it's a lot easier to just go and to just do it. But when you're with a band, not everybody's going to want to fall in line, or do I want to go away for 14 days? Do I want to go, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, do you think touring is easier as a solo act, or do you think you can do it with your respective bands?
Well, it's much, much easier schedule-wise. That's the whole thing. Just to get 4 people to clear their schedule, everybody's got things going, whether you're in school or working, and then, whatever your family or friend situation is, So yeah, in that way, it's a lot easier to do it by yourself, as in deciding you're going to do it, clearing the schedule, and jumping into it. It's much more difficult organizing it, though. A lot of bands on the local or DIY level will have, the one guy is, does the recording, the other person does booking, the other person makes sure everyone shows up or offers the space to play in, so to do all of that, to be, booking agent and, PR person, and having to put content up on Facebook and social media and all that stuff. And to not forget, that you also have to perform and prepare a show that could scare people, and, by yourself, it could be a lot more work. Of course, so everything's a give and take. Nothing comes for free, for one thing you gain, you give something. So, in the way that it helped us both get done what we wanted to do, Tommy with his film and myself being able to tour at all, doing it alone enabled us both to do it. So in that essence, overall, I'd say a little more yes than no. It's easier.
So, John, I know you're a very private person, and you recently...
Stop looking at me.
You recently wanted to kind of move away from social media. So being that, moving away from social media, you're moving away from the public eye. Why would you agree to do a documentary?
Well, it was before I moved away from social media and stuff. No, I'm just kidding. Of course, well, first and foremost, it was just, it's fun to be involved in people's creative projects, whether it's music, art, film, or just doing something nuts, So, of course, just to be a part of something that somebody's doing is always a blast. And so that was a reason right there. Another reason is maybe when I do need my time and space, maybe a little insight into my life might make you understand why I need my time and space, and with Tommy being such a non-intrusive person, the most laid back dude in the world, having someone else to talk to. And I've done a bunch of tours completely by myself and other tours with my friends and like with Rucksuck especially. But being by yourself, it has its own magic and sense of specialness that you're the only one who knows what happened. At the same time, though, it's much better to have someone to talk to help carry stuff, to help organize things, and the same reason people might have a pet. It's just good to be near another thing that's has a heartbeat and is breathing air, so
you needed some company on the road. Is that it?
Yeah, but and also social media and all that stuff. It's just a rat race. You just end up chasing tails. It's a lot of negativity, and it's you get caught up in it. It becomes a whole world that you realize it doesn't really. You measure it to a grain of sand, and it's less than that. Where it's incredible how, and you could forget how powerful it is because of that. You could feel really awful one day and say screw everybody. And 10 minutes later, you feel so terrible that you just exposed such deep feelings that were, you're just in a bad mood for a minute. Now everyone, for the next 2 weeks that you run into, asks if you're okay because they saw your Facebook post, So it's like, it's a lot more of an honest representation of someone to see them with a camera rather than, a feed on a computer, So
like this documentary kind of shows you, this is me. This is Astronauto.
I haven't seen it yet, but I think it would.
Of course. But
yeah, I would hope so.
Yeah, this is who I am. This, what I say on social media or how, it's not a representation of who I am as a human being. So this is me, Astronauto. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, and if you're pretty much. And if you're judging who I am by the music alone, you're going to be like, what's wrong with this poor guy? Because, of course, that's a part of me, and I'm not going to deny that, I'm not going to scrape it under the rug and say I'm not a little off like that. But of course, it's among many other things, like the music is like an outlet. So I tend to write things when I'm in a bad state of mind, or not bad, but a negative state of mind, or I'm going through something, or feeling anxious or upset. So you get the cream of the crop of like the negativity, or not even negativity, because it's got a positive message to stick through it and overcome. But it's got like a dark tone to it. So I'm hoping it might capture a little more of the fun, wacky side of things, the yin to that yang,
You guys are creative people, and you guys use social media for your creative content. And maybe it's just me, but what you do and what you post on social media is just for your stuff. But it's not a representation of what the rest of the world is like, Like sooner or later, you gotta log off. You gotta not talk about this film you got coming on. You gotta not talk about a show for a minute and kind of just experience life. Like go to a show and then come back and talk about it maybe.
Yeah, exactly. You become desensitized, and you have to turn off. And yeah, it's just, it warps your perception of how the world is, and you realize there's. The main thing is you're just like slapped in the face with the most pressing and worst issues that are going on in the entire world right now, 24/7 on the computer. And it makes you feel so powerless and angry and frustrated, and everyone shouts their opinion at each other, and no one has ever swayed anyone to think differently through social media, through saying they just only fight,
And no one has the answers.
Yeah, so to unplug from that and to just be a good person and do your own part in your own small corner of the world, if the guys in suits are going to blow each other up tomorrow and blow us up along with it, us shouting on Facebook for the last 2 weeks saying, I told you so, I knew it was going to come to this, that's not really going to stop any missiles that are already going to be flying from flying. So it's like, might as well get our kicks before, before we can't see each other,
Yes, sir. So the documentary, How Can We Know? The screening is December 14th, the Velvet Lounge. So this will be the first Astronauto performance since April.
Yes.
This hiatus is because of your real life, your other projects like Red Wolf.
Oh yeah.
So why the long Astronauto hiatus?
It was a lot of stuff, just personal reasons. I was just getting so busy. I just had to catch up. I realized once I started doing Astronauto, it was like 3 years went by, just like immediately.
Yes,
so
sir. Yep.
I just really had to catch up on 3 years of life, in a lot of other aspects. And beyond that, there's also a lot of like logistic reasons of my equipment was just shot. My synthesizers were all like in the $200 to $300 range, and they were all just, after over 200 shows in 3 years, they needed to be repaired. My amp was broken. A few of my pedals were broken. My guitars were like borderline unplayable just from like I had a falling out with the guy who used to set them up, and I just never found someone else to fix my guitars up until like a few months ago. So yeah, I just needed to regroup and re-strategize and wait for it to feel like it was worth it again. I was starting to just I was also getting sick all the time, man. It was like between working with kids and just never sleeping, and like I just had to stop for a second, and
And you were sick on tour, too.
I was sick the entire tour, man. I got sick the day before.
He still sounded great, though.
Yeah, oh, thank you. Too kind, yeah. And it was some sort of chest or respiratory infection, and it just didn't go away until like a few days after the tour. So, you know, we made some lemonade out of those lemons that life handed us, of course. You know, we sipped it all the way to the end. But
yes, sir. Yes,
yeah,
sir.
we were running ragged, and also I wasn't seeing like the more positive side of things. I was just more focusing on the negative side, and you know, like anything else, when you're cranky, when you're too tired and too hungry, you know, you tend to not be in a good mood, especially me. I'm a little cranky when I don't have my, you know, when I don't have my bolus, you know, Frosted Flakes in the morning or whatever. So, so yeah, I just needed to catch up on some rest and get my stuff fixed and wait for some creative juices to start to reflow. And now I'm right back in there. Then all of a sudden I start feeling super restless a few weeks ago. Now I'm back to feeling overwhelmed. I got all my stuff booked up and, you know, and now we're right back on the saddle, and it feels really, really good.
So tell me about your new project, Red Wolf.
Yeah, we only had one show in September. It was a one-off thing. It was I was in a band called the Red Lights from 2008 to 2011, and yeah, and we realized it was about 10 years from the anniversary of our first shows and stuff. So we got together, me and the original drummer of the Red Lights, and then we got one of our friends, Dave Wolfson, aka Coyote, from Dysfunctone, and he's one of our favorite other bass players outside of Medicine Fish. And so we just asked them to do it, and yeah, we had a one-off show in September, and we played really well. It was a lot of fun to play, and then we were all busy after that and stuff, you know, and kind of had to regroup. Right now, though, we're starting to play again. We have like a super group project going on for the day after the release show. We're playing in Queens, and yeah, and Coyote and Dave are playing, and then also with some guys from Medicine Fish and Brandon from Dysfunctone as well. So and your brother Richie is going to be playing keyboards as well. So cool. You know, I haven't seen so many other people, and even the guys at Medicine Fish haven't been able to practice as regularly. The least regular like that we have since we've begun. So it's just all at once. I'm getting back into the Astronauto thing. I'm getting back to talking to all my regular musician friends, you know, and so it felt like a part of me was missing for 6 months, and I didn't really realize that, and all of a sudden now it's like, oh wow, back to it, and completely revitalized, remembering, you know, could focus more on the music now that all the other stuff, the busyness and the broken crap is out of the way, you know, so now we could just now we're busy just playing the music and making the music sound as good as possible, and with as many people as possible. So yeah,
man, you're seriously the marathon man. You got a whole bunch of projects, and they're all great, which is awesome. So Tommy, how can we know this documentary? Is it more, or your focus, was it more on Astronauto the person or Astronauto the musician?
I tried to make it a little bit of both. I wanted there were 3 things I wanted to accomplish with this. I wanted to do, I guess the first 2 things are kind of one thing, so let's just say 2 things. The 2 things I wanted to accomplish with it were to do a concert film, because like I said earlier, I really don't think there's anything quite like being at an Astronauto show. So I wanted to document that live experience first of all, and then second of all, I wanted to show the just what DIY touring is like. Like, we filmed a lot of stuff in the car, a lot of like John musing on stuff as he's driving. No, we got some good stuff. And as we traveled, I tried to interview a few different people from each place about what like DIY means to them, because I think John's pretty much the most DIY guy there is, which is,
yes sir.
And DIY is a passion of mine. Like, I tend to work small scale. I like doing things on my own. So So I'm very into DIY, which is part of the reason I wanted to film John to begin with. But as we traveled and we, passed through all these DIY scenes, I interviewed a few people from, like, each place and talking about what DIY means to them. And the cool thing with that was that a lot of people gave really similar answers. So it was, kind of felt like this sense of unity, like, despite being, like, people separated by, like, hundreds of miles saying, like, very similar stuff.
Yeah, that's definitely true, because there's a lot of artists that I know from completely different states that, I mean, I see them for months, but when I see them, it's like, oh, it's like I saw you yesterday.
Yeah.
And that might have been like 3 years ago or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So the screening is going down, the Velvet Lounge, December 14th. So, Tommy, tell me about your group, The Real Whitaker Todd. You guys have any new projects coming up, or is the documentary your main focus?
Documentary's complete for now, so releasing that is pretty much the main focus, but as of right now, The Real Whitaker Todd's recording our second LP. Our guitarist Francis, who's a whiz with all the audio gear. He is a monster. With all the audio gear, he's recording it for us, and we just got to finish up a couple more songs, and then finish up writing a couple more songs that are like half written right now, and then once those are put to record, then it's more or less done, being ready to be mixed. So a lot of that's on him, which I appreciate, because Francis is doing a lot of the work. But I've heard some of the like rough mixes so far, and they sound great. So pretty much the goal with the band is just to play the show on the 14th and get the album done before the winter.
Awesome, guys! Thanks so much for talking with me today.
Thank you.
So where can people reach out to you guys? Social media, whatever.
You want to go first?
Plug away.
First.
All right, I'll go first. All right, so you can follow Greener Pictures on Facebook as well as Instagram, and you can see all the Greener Pictures films at vimeo.com/Greener Pictures, all one word, and you could follow my band, The Real Whitaker Todd, online on Facebook and on Bandcamp.
Astronauto?
And you can find me at MySpace.
Yeah, right.
Henry/Aquarius/Mr. Gibbers. No, Astronaut. At this point, if you Google Astronauto, it all comes up. But Instagram is like Astronauto Music. Facebook's Astronauto Band. YouTube, I have a hard time finding myself on YouTube, but it's there somewhere.
Yeah.
Pornhub.
Oh my god.
I left that one isolated so you could cut that out if you need to. Yeah, and it's Bandcamp, astronauto.bandcamp.com is the main one where it's all there, all the albums and stuff. And
you're
SoundCloud.
On streaming services now, too.
Yeah,
Apple Music.
We're everywhere now.
Yeah.
We're iTunes and Amazon and SoundCloud. We're doing.
Oh, nice.
We got one. Our song "Photographic Memory" is at like 96, like 9,600 something plays. We're almost at 10,000. So go listen to that a few hundred times. Make us feel good. Yeah.
Big thanks to Astronauto and Tommy Cavanagh for talking with me on My Little Underground. Level 19. It's Peter A. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Peter A Radio, and the show as well at MLU Pod on Twitter and Instagram. And you can subscribe anywhere you get podcasts, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and you know the deal. Anywhere you get podcasts, you can check out My Little Underground. And make sure you check out Tommy Cavanagh's Astronauto documentary, How Can We Know? It should be up on his Vimeo page sooner than later. So hit him up on Twitter Instagram at Greener Pictures, and definitely give Astronauto's music a listen. He's one of the best artists to come out of Nassau County, and that's no joke. Not too many people on the island sound like him, and that's a good thing. You got to be unique. And all 3 of his Astronauto albums are on Bandcamp, they're on Spotify, they're on Apple Music, they're on Tidal, so definitely give him a listen. And Starbenders as well, my friends from Atlanta, they were on the show today too. Big thanks to them for taking time to talking with me at the Knitting Factory in Brooklyn. Definitely give their music a listen too. Their debut album, Heavy Petting, that came out in 2015, is on all streaming platforms, and their latest single, 21st Century Orphan, give that a listen. One of my favorite singles of the year. And that's it. Level 19, My Little Underground. I've been Peter A, and thanks for listening. Level 20, we got the great Sir Baby Girl on the show. That's gonna be fun. Peace.